and actually going through what you and the rest of the family have gone through.
I think when you are bereaved at a very young age, anytime really, but particularly at a young age, I can resonate closely to that. You feel pain like no other pain, and you know that in your life it's going to be very difficult to...
On February 3rd, 2026, the British royal world was rocked by a revelation of unprecedented magnitude. Prince William had officially become the owner of the Queen's most private and secretive estates, a legal and personal transfer that reshaped the monarchy's landscape forever. These were not ordinary properties. This was a Cedar Estate, Northacre Hall, Clarence Hill, Greystone Downs, Heath, and Oakidge, lands and holdings meticulously curated over decades, shielded from public view, and preserved not as trophies, but as living repositories of royal history, ethics, and stewardship. Each estate represented more than wealth. It was a testament to the Queen's foresight, a silent but unassailable declaration of who would uphold the moral and dynastic legacy of the monarchy. In the weeks leading to this transfer, Camilla and her son Tom had plotted to commercialize these lands, envisioning culinary ventures, luxury lodges, and heritage tourism schemes that, on paper, could have turned centuries of royal heritage into a profitable portfolio. Yet, every plan, every back-channel negotiation, every registered holding company they attempted was anticipated, countered, and nullified by clauses written by Elizabeth II herself, a woman who, even in her final years, played the ultimate game of chess, positioning her grandson as both guardian and inheritor of her ethical and historical vision. William's role was not ceremonial. It was a continuation of a decades-long stewardship. He walked the Cedar Grove's cataloging letters, repaired archival vaults, and personally ensured the integrity of the estate's historical records. The Queen's instructions were clear. These properties were to remain beyond exploitation, beyond scandal, and beyond commercial ambition. The public would see a calm, composed prince walking through frost-kissed estates with his children, quietly learning what it meant to be entrusted with more than land, more than legacy, entrusted with history itself. In every legal document, every notarized covenant, every sealed audio recording of the Queen herself, the message resonated. William did not inherit simply property. He inherited the courage to protect, the patience to preserve, and the integrity to honor the silent trust of a sovereign who had anticipated all challenges before they were even imagined. This was not merely an inheritance. It was a command, a covenant, and the closing of a masterfully played move in the grand chessboard of monarchy, ensuring that the values of service, stewardship, and discretion would endure even amidst ambition, greed, and family rivalry. On February 3rd, 2026, the British monarchy was thrust into a quiet storm that would ripple across royal households, legal chambers, and historical circles alike. Prince William, already heir to the crown, had become the sole custodian of a series of the Queen's most private and historically significant estates: the Cedar Estate, Northacre Hall, Clarence Hill, Greystone Downs, Heath, and Oakidge. These were not mere properties. They were living archives, sanctuaries of heritage, and the tangible embodiment of Queen Elizabeth II's foresight, each meticulously shielded from public record and commercial exploitation for decades. From the moment King George V quietly acquired the Cedar Estate during the darkest days of World War II, to the secretive handwritten covenants the Queen left for her grandson, every transfer was a chess move calculated over generations. The estates held more than land. They housed archival vaults of war correspondence, portraits never before seen, and private audio recordings of conversations between the Queen and world leaders, capturing the private soul of the monarchy itself. William's role was never ceremonial. For years, he walked the groves, catalogued letters, maintained archival systems, and immersed himself in the stewardship the Queen trusted him to uphold. Meanwhile, Camilla and her son Tom had plotted to commercialize these lands, envisioning luxury lodges, farm-to-table ventures, and boutique brands built atop royal heritage. Yet every strategy, every holding company, every proposal had been anticipated and neutralized by Elizabeth II herself. The Queen's foresight, encoded in notarized trusts and delayed activation clauses, ensured that William inherited not just property, but responsibility, ethics, and the moral compass of a dynasty under threat from internal ambition. The drama was not public spectacle, but quiet and absolute in its effect. Camilla's plans failed, Tom's corporate dreams evaporated, and the Queen's legacy endured, safeguarded by her grandson's unwavering commitment. From the frozen lakes of Greystone Downs to the secluded forests of Green Heath, William and Catherine walked their children through estates imbued with history, reflecting a lesson far beyond wealth. That true inheritance is measured in stewardship, integrity, and the courage to protect what matters most, even against those closest to you. In this unprecedented consolidation of private royal holdings, the Queen had written the final, unassailable chapter of her reign, ensuring that her vision of legacy, ethics, and discretion would survive generations, and that William's stewardship would forever define the monarchy's future in quiet, enduring dignity. The story of February 3rd, 2026, is more than a simple inheritance tale. It is a masterclass in foresight, discretion, and the absolute exercise of dynastic authority. Prince William did not merely inherit properties. He inherited decades of strategic planning, legal ingenuity, and the unspoken wisdom of a monarch who had observed human ambition with meticulous eye. The Cedar Estate, with its hidden wartime correspondences, private chapels, and conversations recorded between Queen Elizabeth II and world leaders, stood as a silent testament to a monarchy that had survived war, scandal, and internal rivalry. Northacre Hall, Clarence Hill, Greystone Downs, Green Heath, and Oakidge were each carefully shielded from external influence and internal covetousness, encoded within notarized covenant trusts designed to activate only under specific circumstances that the Queen alone foresaw. Camilla and Tom's ambitions to transform these historic estates into commercial ventures disguised as heritage projects were thwarted not by force, but by the quiet, absolute authority of a sovereign whose understanding of loyalty, stewardship, and morality surpassed mere legality. Every clause, every handwritten note, every private audio recording was a layer of protection, ensuring that William, a grandson who had demonstrated unwavering dedication, would be entrusted with the moral and practical continuity of the monarchy. As he walked the frost-kissed groves of Greystone Downs, oversaw the frozen lakes of Green Heath, and explored the ancient ruins of Oakidge with Catherine and his children, William embodied the living link between past and future, a guardian of memory, of principle, and of the ethical framework his grandmother had painstakingly constructed. These estates were not trophies. They were a moral inheritance, a legacy that demanded vigilance, compassion, and integrity, preserving the monarchy from those motivated solely by ambition or commerce. In the end, the Queen's final chess moves, executed from beyond the grave, secured a lineage not just of crown and title, but of conscience, foresight, and enduring stewardship, proving that true power lies not in public spectacle, but in the careful, patient preservation of what is sacred, private, and enduring. What unfolded on that February morning was more than a transfer of wealth. It was a quiet assertion of a vision decades in the making. Prince William became the custodian not merely of land and buildings, but of memory, conscience, and the intimate legacy of a monarch who had observed the current of ambition within her family with unflinching clarity. Each estate, from the Cedar Estate's hidden wartime archives to the solemn chapels of Greystone Downs, the meticulously preserved sanctuaries of Clarence Hill, the strategic expanse of Green Heath, and the reflective Oakidge grounds, was a chapter in a living narrative of ethical stewardship. Queen Elizabeth II had anticipated every possible maneuver, legal challenges, commercial repurposing schemes, and familial lobbying. Camilla and Tom, despite their meticulous planning and external alliances, found their ambitions systematically neutralized, not through confrontation or spectacle, but by the deliberate, almost surgical architecture of sealed trusts, notarized clauses, and private audio directives. William's inheritance was therefore not a prize but a responsibility, a charge to protect, nurture, and interpret the monarchy's private legacy with integrity. Walking through frost-laden groves, cataloging historical correspondence, and teaching his children the significance of each estate, William became the embodiment of his grandmother's foresight, a monarch in training not merely for ceremonial duty, but for the custodianship of history, values, and ethical continuity. What was at stake was not the accumulation of power, but the preservation of an unbroken moral lineage, ensuring that centuries of royal memory and private wisdom would endure, safeguarded against those motivated only by personal gain. In the quiet of each estate, the Queen's voice lingered, a guiding presence reminding all that true stewardship is measured not by visibility or influence, but by patience, foresight, an unwavering dedication to what is sacred and enduring that iron the hushed corridors of Windsor and the secluded groves of the Cedar Estate, the significance of February 3rd, 2026, unfolded like a masterstroke of foresight and strategy, one that only decades of meticulous planning could produce. Prince William did not merely inherit properties. He inherited the weight of history, the unspoken counsel of a monarch who had spent a lifetime watching, measuring, and calculating the threats posed by ambition within her own family. Each estate, the hidden archives of Cedar, the moral sanctuaries of Clarence Hill, the educational foresight of Heath, the reflective tranquility of Oakidge, and the symbolic Greystone Downs, was a meticulously crafted instrument of legacy designed not for profit, not for spectacle, but to embody the ethics, restraint, and stewardship Queen Elizabeth II had valued above all else. While Camilla and Tom envisioned commercialization, brand expansion, and luxury enterprises, every legal maneuver they attempted was met with preemptive blocks written years before, each clause a shield forged in secrecy, each notarized covenant a testament to the Queen's anticipation of familial ambition. William, by contrast, approached his inheritance with quiet reverence. He walked the groves, catalogued war correspondence, studied archival letters, and educated his children on the historical and ethical significance of each estate. He honored not just property, but the moral architecture of the monarchy itself, the understanding that legacy is defined not by wealth or influence, but by patience, care, and the courage to safeguard what matters most. In this slow, deliberate exercise of stewardship, the monarchy's private soul was preserved, a living testament to the vision of a sovereign who understood that power, unchecked ambition, or commercial gain could never replace conscience, continuity, and the unbroken lineage of trust passed from grandmother to grandson. The estate stood as silent witnesses to a battle waged not in public courts or headlines, but in foresight that ensured history, ethics, and personal conviction would always triumph over the fleeting lure of fortune that ironed the sprawling and secretive expanse of the United Kingdom's most hidden royal holdings. February 3rd, 2026, marked a turning point that few outside the inner sanctum of Windsor could fully comprehend. Prince William did not merely acquire property. He inherited a meticulously constructed moral and historical fortress, one forged over decades by a monarch whose understanding of human ambition rivaled that of any strategist in history. The Cedar Estate, Clarence Hill, Heath, Greystone Downs, Oakidge, each property was not only a sanctuary of heritage, but a deliberate instrument of ethical stewardship, designed to ensure that the monarchy's private soul would remain insulated from the commercial ambitions, personal gain, and opportunism of those closest to it. Camilla and Tom had long envisioned transforming these estates into luxury enterprises, culinary brands, and exclusive retreats, leveraging centuries of royal heritage as collateral for personal gain. Yet every attempt they made, every corporate structure they drafted, every lobby or influence they sought, was anticipated and neutralized years in advance by Queen Elizabeth II herself. Through secretive covenant trusts, notarized courtils, and private legal instruments, she created a system that could not be circumvented, a protective lattice of foresight so sophisticated that no public scandal, legal challenge, or commercial appeal could touch it. William's inheritance, by contrast, was exercised with quiet reverence. He walked the cedar groves, catalogued wartime correspondence, repaired archival chambers, and educated his children on the deep ethical and historical significance of each property. He embodied the principle his grandmother had trusted him to uphold, that legacy is measured not in wealth, influence, or titles, but in stewardship, integrity, and the courage to safeguard what matters, even from those within one's own family who might exploit it. Across every frost-kissed field, every hidden chapel, and every archive of letters and recordings, the monarchy's private soul was preserved, a testament to a sovereign who planned decades ahead, and a grandson who honored the quiet, irrevocable language of trust, duty, and continuity.in the labyrinthine corridors of power and secrecy within Windsor, February 3rd, 2026, became a date that will echo through the annals of monarchy not for public pageantry, but for the quiet assertion of absolute control over the private soul of the crown. Prince William did not inherit mere land. He inherited a legacy of foresight, ethics, and stewardship that had been meticulously orchestrated over decades by Queen Elizabeth II, a sovereign whose understanding of human ambition and foresight rivaled that of any strategist in history. Each estate, Cedar, Clarence Hill, Heath, Greystone Downs, and Oakidge, was not only a repository of history but a deliberate instrument of dynastic security, designed to preserve the monarchy's moral compass against internal threats, commercial exploitation, and opportunistic relatives. Camilla and Tom Parker B.S. had schemed and maneuvered for years to transform these estates into luxury retreats, high-end culinary brands, and exclusive heritage ventures, misreading centuries of royal heritage as mere assets to money eyes. Yet, every attempt they made, every corporate plan drafted, every lobbying effort, and every proposed public-private partnership had been foreseen and neutralized years earlier by Queen Elizabeth II. Through covenant trusts, notarized courtils, and private legal instruments, she created an unbreachable lattice of protection, one that anticipated ambition, litigation, and opportunism long before they materialized. William's inheritance, in stark contrast, was exercised with reverence and responsibility. He walked the cedar groves, catalogued confidential wartime correspondence, repaired archival chambers, and personally ensured the ethical use of each estate. He imparted these lessons to his children, teaching them that legacy is measured not in wealth or titles, but in the courage to protect what is sacred, in the willingness to honor duty over desire, and in the restraint to act with dignity in the face of opportunism. Every frost-kissed field, every secret chapel, and every archive of letters and recordings became living proof of a monarchy protected by foresight and a grandson who understood, more deeply than anyone, the quiet weight of trust. Camilla's ambitions, her proposed eco-lodges, culinary ventures, and luxury branding, were systematically dismantled, not by confrontation or scandal, but by the legal genius of a sovereign who had anticipated each move, ensuring that William's stewardship remained unchallenged. From the moment he walked Green Heath to Oakidge, Prince William embodied the principle his grandmother had entrusted to him, to protect, preserve, and guide the monarchy's private soul with unwavering integrity, preserving not just estates, but the ethical and historical framework that would guide generations to come. In every hidden path, in every archive and chapel, the Queen's foresight lived on, silently but unyieldingly, through her grandson, her legacy, and the quiet architecture of power that history will never forget. The story of Prince William inheriting Queen Elizabeth II's private estates is not just a tale of property transfers. It is a profound narrative of strategy, foresight, and the intimate architecture trust built over decades. Each estate, from the hidden Cedar Estate to the remote Oakidge, represents a meticulously calculated safeguard against ambition, opportunism, and commercial exploitation within the royal family itself. Queen Elizabeth's hand is evident in every clause, covenant, and notarized caution. She anticipated not only legal challenges, but also the covert maneuvers of family members who value profit and prestige over legacy. Camilla and Tom Parker B.S., despite their efforts to craft luxury hospitality brands, private culinary ventures, and heritage rebranding, found themselves systematically outmaneuvered by a sovereign whose mind never ceased planning, even in her 90s. Every measure they took, company formations, investor outreach, and speculative media campaigns, was anticipated and rendered irrelevant by the foresight embedded in the legal instruments of each estate. The Cedar Estate was more than an archive. It was a monarchy's private soul. Clarence Hill, Greystone Downs, and Green Heath became living lessons in stewardship and restraint, teaching that legacy is protected not by force but by foresight. Prince William, walking these estates with quiet dignity, cataloguing wartime correspondence, reviewing confidential archives, and instilling ethical stewardship in his children, embodies the very principles his grandmother sought to preserve. In these moments, the monarchy's continuity, its moral compass, and its private memory converge into a singular story of trust, duty, and the inviolable power of foresight. The estates are now more than land. They are a testament to a queen's enduring strategic genius and a grandson's commitment to honor it, ensuring that the monarchy's most precious legacies remain insulated from commerce, ambition, and fleeting personal gain. Every turn of the path, every frost-kissed hedge, and every vaulted archive hold a lesson in humility and responsibility. Queen Elizabeth II, through her carefully orchestrated legal maneuvers, created a fortress that preserved history, morals, and continuity, insulating it from the very ambitions that threatened to undermine it. William's inheritance is not merely territorial. It is a living moral and historical mandate. It reflects decades of private governance, intimate stewardship, and the quiet understanding that the crown's most enduring power is in ethical preservation, not in ostentatious display. Camilla's commercial aspirations, no matter how meticulously planned, collided against the unyielding structure of foresight, strategy, and preemptive legal design. Each estate became a chessboard, Each clause a defensive move, and each recorded letter or covenant a testament to the Queen's unrivaled anticipation. The moral of this saga is as clear as it is profound. Legacy is a responsibility, not a privilege. Wealth, influence, and prestige cannot substitute for vigilance, ethics, and commitment to the stewardship of history. Prince William's actions, in quiet, deliberate contrast to the scheming around him, illustrate a mastery not of politics, but of principled guardianship, an inheritance of character as much as property, a vision as much as title. History will remember this transfer not for its monetary value, but for the strategic, moral, and enduring lessons it embodies, a testament to a queen whose foresight extended far beyond her years, and a grandson who understood, above all, what it truly meant to protect what mattered.